years back. So when you hear of certain numbers, know that they have changed. So the Southern Cameroon has a surface area of 34,000 square kilometers, and current population at that time was 6 million. But we know as of now that we are more than 8 million people. It is thus demographically bigger than at least 60 UN countries and 18 AU member states, and partially bigger than at least 30 UN and 12 UN member states. So Ambazonia, they can't say that Ambazonia is too small to govern itself. So this statistic shows that Ambazonia, as of when this document was presented to the court in Banjul, was bigger than at least 60 UN countries, 18 AU member states, and especially bigger than 30 UN and 12 UN member states. So, Ambazonia, where is it located? Or Southern Cameroon? Southern Cameroon is located in the armpit of Africa. It is sandwiched between Nigeria and Republic du Cameroon, like a switch between West Africa and what in effect is still French Equatorial Africa. It has frontiers with west and north with Nigeria, to the east with Cameroon, Republic du Cameroon, and to the west with Equatorial Guinea Island. So the borders are well attested by international boundary treaties. For those who have been asking questions that, where are your borders? How do you distinguish between Cameroon and Ambazonia? So you can hear it from here. So let me say it again, that the frontiers from the north and the west is with Nigeria, and to the east with La République du Cameroon, and to the west with Equatorial Guinea. And these are all well documented. What natural resources do we have in Ambazonia? Whenever there is a conflict somewhere, you have to ask yourself question, what is the interest? What is in that territory that this country wants to so badly occupy it? When you see countries fighting, when you see the war in Burkina Faso, when you see the war in Niger and Guinea, all the Sahel nation, when you dig deep, you will see that there is so much. The one that was waged in Libya, you will know that there is something in those countries that they are haunting. And this is exactly what is happening in Ambazonia as well. So what are the natural resources of Southern Cameroons? So the natural resources include crude oil, it includes gas, it includes timber, it includes coffee. These are all resources, including natural resources. So it includes crude oil, gas, timber, coffee, cocoa, tea, bananas, oil plantation, that is palm oil plantation. It includes rubber, it includes wildlife, it includes fish, medicinal plants, it includes a lot of beautiful waterfalls and a wide variety of fruits and agricultural produce. These are some of the resources that are embedded in Southern Cameroon. Why La République will want to kill every living thing in Ambazonia just to have access to all of these resources. Like I said, we have crude oil, we have gas, we have timber, we have cocoa, we have coffee, we have tea, bananas, we have the palm oil plantation, we have rubber, wildlife, fish, medicinal plants, and we've all seen all of this. We have beautiful waterfalls, we have the beautiful savannas, we have a wide variety of fruits and agricultural produce in Ambazonia, in Southern Cameroon. And Cameroon only exists because of Ambazonia, truth be told. Because it is from Ambazonia that all what they consume in La République du Cameroon comes from. Like I said, we are going to break this down into bits and pieces for all of us to understand, so that it will help us understand why the people of Ambazonia are fighting for the restoration of their statehood. Let's talk about 80 years of British connection in Southern Cameroons. So the territory that was later identified as Southern Cameroons was originally British from 1858 to 1887. It was ceded to Germany and subsequently incorporated into the contiguous German protectorate of Cameroon with a K, which has been acquired earlier in 1884. Let us know this history. So, a 1913 Anglo-German treaty respecting the settlement of the frontier between the British territory of Nigeria and the German territory of Cameroon from Lake Chad to the sea. So this 1913 Anglo-German treaty settled or demarcated the borders between the British territory of Nigeria and the German territory of Cameroon from Lake Chad to the sea. Territorially grounded treaty has remained the instrument defining the international borders between Nigeria and Southern Cameroon. Moreover, in 1954, the British Order in Council, which also is known as the Definition of Boundaries Proclamation, defined the boundary between eastern region of Nigeria and Southern Cameroons. Territory that had been ceded in 1887 by Britain to Germany was captured by Britain or by British forces in September 1914, soon after the outbreak of World War I. So, it later became known as the Southern Cameroons, consisting of two separate parts, the Southern Cameroons and the Northern Cameroons. Maybe most of you don't even know that there was a part of the country called Northern Cameroons. You only think of Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. But like you've heard, we had Northern Cameroons and Southern Cameroons, all controlled or administered by the British. Germany held on its own original Cameroon protectorate until 1916, when Anglo-French forces captured it. So the part that Germany held, which was called Cameroon, they held onto it until 1916, when the Anglo-French forces captured it. France took possession of the territory and it became known as French Cameroon. In 1916, Germany ceased to exercise any territorial authority or sovereignty over Cameroon. The utter defeat of Germany entails the loss of its colonial territory. So under Article 118 and 119 of the 1919 Versailles Treaties, Germany renounced and relinquished all rights in and title to all its overseas possessions, including her Cameroon territory. We are learning. Yes. So in 1919, during the Versailles Treaties, Germany renounced and relinquished all its rights in and title to all its overseas operations, including her Cameroon territory. An Anglo-Saxon and Anglo-French treaty of 1916, we are coming to the borders, distinguishing between Cameroon and Southern Cameroons. So let us get this very clear. So an Anglo-French treaty of 1916, which is also known as the Mina-Simon Declaration, defined the international boundaries between the British Cameroons and French Cameroon. This territorial delimitation was confirmed by the League of Nations in 1922, when the two territories were separately placed under the mandate system. Are we getting the point now? I hope we are all learning. The territorial alignment was further confirmed by the Anglo-French Treaty of 9th January 1931, signed by the Governor General of Nigeria and the Governor of French Cameroon. International borders. We have seen international borders. We are talking about 1913 Anglo-German Treaty. We've talked about the Anglo-French Treaty of 1916. We've talked about the 1954 British Order in Council. And we are talking about the 1931 treaty, Anglo-French treaties. All these treaties define international borders between Cameroon and Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. The Southern Cameroons was thus under British rule from 1858 to 1887, and then from 1915 to 1961. Look at the disparate time of which Southern Cameroons were under the British colonial rule. 1858 to 1857, and then from 1915 to 1961. A total period of nearly 80 years. That is the level of Britishness that the people of Southern Cameroon they have. That long British connection left an indelible mark on the territory, bequeathing to it an Anglo-Saxon heritage. That is why our laws are Anglo-Saxon, our teachings are Anglo-Saxon, our educational system is Anglo-Saxon, our legal system is Anglo-Saxon, because we practice the English common law. The territory's official language is English. Southern Cameroon's official language is English. Its educational, legal, administrative, political, governance, and institutional culture and value systems are all English-driven. And they are all English-driven. So, these are clear indications of what we talk about two and divisible. It can never be one and indivisible. I hope we are learning from this message that I'm giving today. I hope you can really have a rest in your mind from after this message. Let's go further. I said we are going to break it down to the understanding of everybody. Let's talk about the international tutelage. The Southern Cameroons was under international tutelage with the status of a Class B territory. First, as a British mandated territory of the League of Nations from 1922 to 1945, and then as a British administered United Nations Trust territory from 1946 to 1961. And that is why you hear us referring to it as the former British Trust territory of Southern Cameroons. So Britain administered Southern Cameroon under the status as a Class B territory under the British mandate under the League of Nations, and also as a trust territory under the United Nations. So under Article 22 of the Treaties of Versailles, the mandatory power accepted and undertook to apply the principle that the well-being and development of the inhabitants of the territories concerned form a sacred trust of civilization. At the end of World War II, the international mandate system was transmuted to the international trusteeship system under Chapter 7 and Chapter 8 of the United Nations Charter. You can rewind, or let me rewind myself. So under Article 22 of the Treaty of Versailles, the mandatory powers accepted and undertook to apply the principle that the well-being and development of the inhabitants of the territories concerned form a sacred trust of civilization. At the end of World War II, the international mandate system was transmuted to the international trusteeship system under Chapter 7 and Chapter 8 of the United Nations Charter. You understand? Do you guys understand? You get it? If you don't get it, forget it. Article 73 of the United Nations Charter, it states that the administering power recognizes the principle that the interests of the inhabitants of the territories whose people have not yet attained a measure of self-governance are paramount, and accept as a sacred trust the obligation to promote to the utmost within the system of international peace and security established by the present charter the well-being of the inhabitants of those territories. One of the basic objectives of the international trusteeship system, as stated in Article 76B of the Charter, the United Nations Charter we are talking about, that Article 76B of the United Nations Charter, the purpose of that article is to promote the political, economic, social, and educational advancement of the inhabitants of the trust territory and the progressive development towards self-governance or independence as may be appropriate to the particular circumstances of each territory and its people, and also the freely expressed wishes of the people concerned, and as may be provided by the terms of each trusteeship agreement. Let us go. So, the right to self-governance, the right to independence, the right to control your own political system, the right to your economics, determine your own economic system, the right to determine your own social system, the right to determine your own educational advancement. These are all enshrined and embedded in Article 76B of the United Nations Charter. So, up to 1960, the Southern Cameroons, though under international tutelage, was administered by Britain as part of her contiguous colonial territory of Nigeria. But its distinct identity and personality separate from Nigeria remains unassailable. So Resolution 2224 of 18 November 1948 protected the trust territory from annexation by any colonial-minded neighbor. I like that one. Resolution 224 of 18 November 1948 protected the trust territory from annexation by any colonial-minded neighbor. And we are seeing the colonial-minded neighbor trying to annex the people of Southern Cameroons, because these are completely two different countries. So Cameroon has that colonial mind to annex Ambazonia or Southern Cameroons. So while acknowledging that the trusteeship agreement makes allowance for administrative union, the resolution provides that such a union, my dear viewers, dear listeners, please let us understand this. It says, while acknowledging that the trusteeship agreement makes allowance for administrative union, the resolution provides that such a union must remain strictly administrative in its nature and scope, and its operation must not have the effect of creating any condition which will obstruct the separate development of the trust territory in the field of political, economic, social, and educational advancement as distinct entities. You hear? Okay. Let's move forward. I hope this is giving you a clearer picture of what Cameroon is trying to do in Ambazonia. And that is why we say Cameroon's presence in Ambazonia is illegal. Cameroon's claim over Ambazonia is illegal. Let's talk about self-governance. In 1954, the Southern Cameroons became a self-governing region within Nigeria and gradually asserted its distinct identity and its aspiration to statehood through increased political and institutional autonomy. Again, in 1958, the British government stated at the United Nations that the Southern Cameroon was expected to achieve in 1960 the objective to set forth in Article 76B. Remember what Article 76B talked about in the United Nations Charter: self-governance, self-independence, determine your political, economic, social, educational advancement, determine your right to self-govern. So Article 76B of the United Nations Charter. Again, since Southern Cameroons had already attained self-governance, self-government status 4 years earlier in 1954, the objective to be attained in 1960 could only have been full independence. The General Assembly Resolution 1282 of 5th December 1958 took note of the British statement. The people of Southern Cameroons therefore legitimately expected to be granted full independence in 1960, given that the country had been self-governing since 1954. If you didn't catch it, let me take it again. In 1954, the Southern Cameroons became a self-governing region within Nigeria and gradually asserted its distinct identity and its aspiration to statehood through increased political and institutional autonomy. And I'll take back what was done in 1958. In 1958, the British government stated at the United Nations that the Southern Cameroons was expected to achieve in 1960 the objective set forth in Article 76B of the United Nations Charter. And I said, you remember what Article 76B says? It talks about self-governance and full independence. So since Southern Cameroon had already attained self-government status 4 years earlier, that was in 1954, the objective to be attained in 1960 could only have been full independence. Because if it is not self-governance, it is full independence. General Assembly Resolution 1282 of 5th December 1958 took note of the British statement, and the people of Southern Cameroons therefore legitimately expected to be granted full independence in 1960, given that the country had been self-governing since 1954. We are breaking the history, and we are determining the distinction between Cameroon and Southern Cameroon, the international borders, the different legal system, the administering powers, how they all got their independence, how they navigated through their independence. So, basic self-governance government institutions were in place. A government headed by the premier as leader of government business. That is Dr. E.N. Endele. Bicameral parliament consisting of a House of Assembly and a House of Chief. An official opposition in parliament, a judiciary headed by the Chief of Justice, a civil service, and a police force. The system in place was a democratic and accountable dispensation, a Westminster-type parliamentary democracy. So in 1959, when the term of office of the incumbent premier came to an end, in 1959, when the term of office of the incumbent premier came to an end, peaceful, free, fair, and transparent elections were conducted or organized. The opposition won, and there was an orderly transfer of power to the incoming premier. Consistently with the parliamentary system of governance, the outgoing premier became leader of the opposition in parliament. You see the peaceful election, how it took place, a democratic election in that part of the world, in Africa at the time. So, ladies and gentlemen, on October 1st, 1960, the Southern Cameroons was separated from Nigeria. The Southern Cameroons Constitution Order in Council came into force. Let us get the history. By 1960, the Southern Cameroons had attained a full measure of self-governance. So from October 1st, 1960 up to 30th of September 1961, it was a full governing territory, fully responsible for all its internal affairs except for defense, over which matter, along with foreign affairs, Britain continued to exercise jurisdiction. So quite apart from the fact that the territory had international personality by virtue of its status as an international trust territory, the Southern Cameroons was a state in process. The Southern Cameroon was a state in process of being born and was known by the sovereign name of government of the Southern Cameroons. Its sovereignty was in abeyance, awaiting to emerge at the moment of its expected independence. Okay, I hope this has really given you an understanding, and it has served as an eye-opener to most of you who have mistakenly pushed forward a narrative about the Ambazonian quest for independence to be something different. Let us look at what French Cameroon achieved independence as La République du Cameroun. So we have the distinction. We don't mix things up. On the 1st of January 1960, the continuous territory of French Cameroon, also a Class B territory, trust territory, achieved its independence from France. The chronic ongoing anarchy and terrorism there notwithstanding, the French had decided that by 1960, that 1960 was to be the year of independence for all its African colonies. So 1960, 1961, 1954, 1958. So are we getting the difference? French Cameroon achieved independence under the name and style of République du Cameroun, with Mr. Amadou Ahidjo as its first president. It was admitted to membership of the United Nations on the 20th of September 1960. Ambazonia was not there. Southern Cameroons was not there. Let's talk about the plebiscite. Plebiscite recommended by the United Nations. Let's talk about that. So on 13th of March 1959, the General Assembly adopted Resolution 1350, recommending a plebiscite in the Southern Cameroons instead of the granting of independence right away, 1959. This was followed by another General Assembly Resolution 1352 of 16 October 1959 again, ordering a plebiscite to be held in the Southern Cameroons not later than March 1961. The people of Southern Cameroons were to pronounce themselves on achieving independence by the two dead ends alternatives of joining Nigeria or Republic du Cameroon. Two dead ends, joining Nigeria or Republic du Cameroon. In 1959, some prospective minds in the Trusteeship Council expressed concern that after attaining independence on January 1st, 1960, Republic du Cameroon could try to annex Southern Cameroon. You see, La République had already gotten its independence. Let's not forget, La République had already gotten its independence. So, 1st of January 1960, La République du Cameroon got its independence, and it was said at the Trusteeship Council, concerns were raised that Cameroon could try to annex Southern Cameroon. The Premier of French Cameroon, that is the President of French Cameroon at the time, Amadou Ahidjo, denied any such intention or the possibility of any such action on the part of independent Cameroon, Republic du Cameroon. 1950, this is in 1959, that is at the United Nations General Assembly. President Amadou Ahidjo, when concerns were raised that Cameroon could try to annex Ambazonia or Southern Cameroon, he rose up and said, no, God forbid, we cannot annex Ambazonia. We cannot annex our own brothers. What we want to do is just to have equal status. It says that he denies such intention or the possibility of such any action on the part of independent La République du Cameroon. So at the 848 meeting of the 4th Committee of the United Nations, Mr. Amadou Ahidjo took the floor and gave the United Nations the solemn assurance that La République du Cameroon is not an annexationist. Okay. Does this statement still hold true to today? Does this statement still hold true to today? Those of you who call us separatists. So is Cameroon an annexationist? He declared, "We are not annexationists. If our brothers of the British zone wish to unite with the independent Cameroon, we are ready to discuss the matter with them, but we will do so on the footing of equality or equality." This is what Amadou Ahidjo said at the 848th meeting of the Fourth Committee of the United Nations. He reassured the United Nations when people raised the concern that French Cameroon could annex Ambazonia or Southern Cameroon. Ahidjo said, "God forbid, we will not do it. We do not have such intention or the possibility of any such action to ever annex Southern Cameroons." He took the floor and he gave a solemn assurance to the United Nations General Assembly that La République du Cameroun is not an annexationist. He declared that we are not annexationists. If our brothers of the British zone wish to unite with independent Cameroon, we are ready to discuss the matter with them, but we will do so on a footing of equality. This is what Amadou Ahidjo said. Remember, he gave his constitutional heir authority over Cameroon, and now Ambazonia. The problem of Ambazonia did not start under his constitutional heir, Paul Biya. We should not mistake this for any reason, even in the days of Ahidjo, and we will look into this. So, in June 1960, he told the agents Presse Camerounaise, the Agent Presse Camerounaise, that's a French name, I don't care. The Agent Presse Camerounaise, "I have said and repeated in the name of the government of La République du Cameroun that we do not have any annexationist design or intention." These statements are all there. They are all in record, so they are all in record. In July the same year, he again reassured the international community through the same press, "For us, there can be no question of annexation of Southern Cameroon. We have envisaged a flexible form of union, a federal form." These were the words of Amadou Ahidjo in 1960 and at the United Nations Fourth Committee when they asked him that they see that Cameroon can annex Ambazonia. He reassured them, gave them the solemn promise, and he gave it again over Agence Presse Camerounaise. "I have said it and I'm repeating it, that in the name of the government of La République du Cameroun, we do not have any form of annexationist design or intention." Again, that was in June. A month later, he again gave his assurance to the international community through the same medium that for us, there can be no question of annexation of the Southern Cameroons. We have envisaged a flexible form of union, a federal form. Later events were to show that he took the United Nations, the international community, and Southern Cameroon for a ride. And this is what we are, a ride, by Amadou Ahidjo. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the plebiscite process set in motion. The plebiscite process set in motion. On March 31st, 1960, the Trusteeship Council adopted Resolution 2013 requesting the United Nations to take appropriate steps in consultation with the authorities concerned to ensure that the people of the territory are fully informed before the plebiscite of the constitutional agreement that would have been made at the appropriate time for the implementation of the decision taken at the plebiscite. Let me bring that clear to us again. I said on March 31st, 1960, the Trusteeship Council adopted Resolution 2013 requesting the United Kingdom government to take appropriate steps in consultation with the authorities concerned, the leadership of Southern Cameroons, to ensure that the people of the territory are fully informed before the plebiscite of the constitutional agreements that will have to be made at the appropriate time for the implementation of the decision taken at the plebiscite. Again, Resolution 2013 saddled the United Nations government with a duty to ascertain from both Nigeria and Republic of Cameroon or Republic du Cameroon the terms and conditions under which the Southern Cameroons might be expected to join either of them. So it was the duty of the United Nations to make it explicitly clear for the leadership of Southern Cameroon to know the terms and conditions of joining either La République du Cameroon or staying with Nigeria. Remember, at the time, they were still administering themselves from Nigeria. After making the ascertainment, Britain was duty-bound to inform the people of Southern Cameroons well before the plebiscite of the conditions of joining offered by each of the two concerned states, that is Nigeria and La République du Cameroon. The artful awkwardness or sluggishness of the United Nations government on this issue, the Southern Cameroons entered into direct talks with La République du Cameroon. Several rounds of talks were held between August and December 1960. These talks resulted in an agreement expressed in the form of a joint declaration and joint communique signed by Mr. J.N. Foncha, John Gould Foncha, and Mr. Amado Ahidjo, the representatives or respective political leaders of the two countries, and it was published. Ladies and gentlemen, I said today we are going to understand these things so that we can all have our minds at ease. And to the international community who blindly get involved in this issue without knowing the history or understanding the details of what has happened in time past, they will have to understand it via this video. So in the meantime also, in early October 1960, the British Secretary of State for the Colonies held talks in London with a delegation of Southern Cameroon's ministers and members of the opposition party. The aim of the talks include elucidating the meaning of the phrase to achieve independence by joining La République du Cameroon. Okay. The Secretary of State put forward the following interpretation as consistent with the plebiscite alternative of joining La République du Cameroon. Let us listen. The Southern Cameroons and the Cameroon Republic would unite in a federal united Cameroon Republic. The Southern Cameroons and the Cameroon Republic or La République du Cameroon would unite in a federal united Cameroon Republic. The arrangements for the union would be worked out after the plebiscite by the conference consisting of representative delegations of equal status from La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroons. Let me take that again. The agreement for the union would be worked out after the plebiscite by the conference consisting of representative delegations of equal status from La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroons. The United Nations and the United Kingdom would also be associated with this conference. This is what was going to happen after the plebiscite. Did this happen? No. Did this happen? No. Okay. So both Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon agreed to this interpretation. It was all good. After the plebiscite, after people have casted their votes, then Cameroon and representatives of Southern Cameroon and representatives of La République du Cameroon, in collaboration with representatives of United Nations and the United Kingdom will come together in a conference and declare the terms of the agreement. But the conference, however, never held. So, pre-plebiscite agreement, the pre-plebiscite agreement, the signed and published agreement between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon provided that in the event of the plebiscite vote going in favor of achieving independence by joining Republic du Cameroon, the following will be the broad terms of the joining. 1. The Southern Cameroons and French Cameroon, La République du Cameroon, would unite to create a federal state to be called the Federal United Cameroon Republic outside the British Commonwealth and the French community. The component state of the federation would be the Southern Cameroons and Republic du Cameroon, legally equal in status. Oh boy. Each federated state would continue to conduct its affairs consistently with its colonial inherited state culture, with only a limited number of subject matter conceded to the union government. Nationals of the federated state will enjoy federal Cameroon's nationality. The federation would have a bicameral parliament consisting of a federal senate and a federal national assembly, and a federal law will only be enacted in such a way that no measure contrary to the interest of one state will be imposed upon it by the majority. Ambalanders, Cameroonese, those of you who have refused to accept the truth, the international community that has refused to accept the truth, I hope these details are opening up your mind now. Let's take that again. The federation would have a bicameral parliament consisting of federal senate and a federal national assembly, such a way that no measures contrary to the interest of one state will be imposed upon it by the majority. This is it. So what else did the agreement stipulate? It also stipulated as follows, that constitutional agreements will be worked out after the plebiscite by a post-plebiscite conference comprising representative delegation of equal status from Southern Cameroon and La République du Cameroon in association with the United Nations and the United Kingdoms. The post-plebiscite conference would have as its goal the fixing of the time limits and conditions for the transfer of sovereignty power to an organization representing the future federation. Those entrusted with the affairs of the United Cameroon will put the would-be federal constitution to the people of Southern Cameroon and La République du Cameroon to pronounce themselves on it. And until constitutional arrangements were worked out, the United Kingdom would continue to fulfill her responsibility under the trusteeship agreement regarding Southern Cameroons. So on December 24th, 1916, La République du Cameroon sent a note verbal to the British government, reiterating its commitment to this agreement and reaffirming its desire for union with Southern Cameroons on the basis of a federation. The fact that Ahidjo kept reiterating and reiterating should have at least opened the minds of our leaders or our forefathers then. However, they were acting in good faith. So what happened? After 1960, when Ahidjo sent that note verbal to the government of the United Kingdom, reiterating the need for the agreement, the agreement between the Southern Cameroons and the Republic du Cameroon was made available to the United Nations and the United Kingdom's government. The representations therein contained were reproduced in the two alternatives. A booklet prepared by the United Kingdom government, published and widely circulated in Southern Cameroon in pursuance of Resolution 2013 with a view to informing Southern Cameroonians or Southern Cameroonians electorate of the constitutional implication of the alternative offered in the plebiscite. Also, reproduced in the two alternatives was the interpretation of the alternative of joining La République du Cameroun put forward by the British Secretary of State for the colonies and concord by with both the Southern Cameroons government and République du Cameroun. The booklet was widely used during the plebiscite enlightenment campaigns. Let's get these points clear. The due process was followed before the plebiscite. But what happened after the plebiscite is what makes us to be where we are today. So now, phrase to achieve independence by joining République du Cameroun was therefore clearly understood by all concerned. That is the United Nations, the United Kingdom's government, the Southern Cameroons government, and the République du Cameroun government, to mean that the Southern Cameroons will attain independence and then form on the footing of legal equality a federal union with La République du Cameroun under an agreed federal constitution. On 11th of February 1961, the United Nations supervised limited plebiscite took place in the Southern Cameroons. Hear that the way it's put. The United Nations supervised limited plebiscite took place in Southern Cameroons. Are you seeing the logic behind why they celebrate 11th of February instead of the 1st of January 1960 in Cameroon? Let's get back to what we are talking about here. The vote was a plebiscite on political status to enable the people of Southern Cameroons progress from full measure to self-government to national independence. The vote went in favor of achieving independence by joining République du Cameroun rather than Nigeria. This is what happened. Okay. The vote went in favor of joining La République du Cameroun instead of Nigeria. Don't forget we had two alternatives, either to join Cameroon or to join Nigeria. So the people voted in favor of joining La République du Cameroun. But what happens then? After the vote, the United Nations Resolution 1608 came to confirm the vote, and that is by attaining independence by joining Cameroon. So now, here is where we got it all. 2 months after the plebiscite vote, on the 21st of April 1961, never forget this date if you are a Southern Cameroonian, on the 21st of April 1961, the United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution 1608 to give effect to the intention expressed by the people of Southern Cameroons at the plebiscite. République du Cameroon, through its foreign affairs minister, Mr. Charles Okala, made a vain, ferocious, and pathetic protest against the taking of a vote on the independence of the Southern Cameroons, and then voted against Resolution 1608. Let's get these facts clear. The same Cameroon that vowed that they were not going to Southern Cameroons was going to be an equal partner, equal legal equality, now went to the United Nations when the United Nations was reinforcing or putting to effect the votes of the plebiscite to making Southern Cameroon an independent state. The same Cameroon voted against it. Remember, Ahidjo had promised that they are not annexationists and that they have no intention whatsoever to annex Southern Cameroons, and that if the Southern Cameroons choose to join La République du Cameroun, they will joyfully do so on equal footing of equality. But yet, when the vote was cast for Southern Cameroons to fully attain its independence at the United Nations, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of La République du Cameroun, of course, he didn't act on his own accord. By the instruction of their president, voted against it. It speaks volume that the overwhelming UN vote on the independence of Southern Cameroons did not go down well with La République du Cameroon. And the independent vote will be seen on the screen there. So it didn't go well. So in Resolution 1608, the General Assembly endorsed the result of the plebiscite that the people of Southern Cameroons decided to achieve independence by joining the Independent Republic of Cameroon. Independent Republic of Cameroon, independent, meaning Cameroon was already independent before Southern Cameroons or Ambazonians decided to join them via that plebiscite. It says they decided to achieve independence by joining the Independent Republic of Cameroon. Consider that the decision made by them through a democratic process under the supervision of the United Nations should be immediately implemented. Decided that the trusteeship agreement of 13 December 1946 concerning the Cameroons under United Kingdom administration be terminated in accordance with Article 76B of the Charter of the United Nations with respect to Southern Cameroons on October 1st, 1961, upon its joining the Republic of Cameroon, and invited the administering authority, the government of the Southern Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon, to initiate urgent discussion with a view to finalizing before the 1st of October 1961 the arrangements by which they agreed and declared policies of the parties concerned will be implemented. You get it? If you don't get it, forget it. Again, the agreed and declared policies of the parties concerned referred to in the resolution where the contents of the signed and published pre-plebiscite agreement between the Southern Cameroons and the Republic du Cameroon, reproduced in the plebiscite enlightenment campaign booklet entitled The Two Alternatives. The said agreed and declared policies were not and have never been finalized. The said agreed two alternatives or the policies were not and have never been finalized. What does that say? You return back to being La République du Cameroon. We return back to being Southern Cameroons because it was never finalized. We started the process, that's true. But did we finalize it? No. If you start a journey to travel to America and you end up in Germany, have you gone to America? No. Let's talk about the mystery of Fumban, the Fumban and the de facto federation. The Fumban and the de facto federation. From the 17th to the 21st of July 1960, the Southern Cameroons and Republic du Cameroon held talks in the town of Fumban. That is why it's called the Fumban Conference in La République du Cameroon, with the view to fleshing up the outline of the federal constitution agreed upon before the plebiscite and to finalize the same. The talks ended inconclusively as a result of the duplicitous conduct and manifest bad faith of La République du Cameroon, aided and abetted in this by French, who would later claim that Southern Cameroon was un petit cadeau de la reine d'Anglaise, translated in English, a little gift from the Queen of England. Southern Cameroon, un petit cadeau de la reine d'Anglaise. Angleterre, whatever that is. The press in La République du Cameroon has recently revealed that at Fumban, Republic du Cameroon acted in pursuance of a premeditated plan, fraudulently and corruptly deflecting the Southern Cameroon's delegation from the serious business at hand and thereby scuttled the Fumban talks. Even the agreement to resume talk at a later date on the would-be federal constitution was ignored by La République du Cameroon, despite repeated reminder by Southern Cameroons. Without the process of negotiating the terms of the agreed federal union having been completed, without any federal constituent assembly having met, without any draft federal constitution having been established, La République du Cameroon unilaterally drafted a document which that country's assembly, meeting without any Southern Cameroonian representative or participation, enacted into law on 1st of September 1961 as the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Cameroon, to enter into force on October 1st, 1960. You see the devilish and the bad faith of La République du Cameroon. Remember, United Nations had clearly stated that this has to be finalized before the 1st of October. So La République du Cameroon unilaterally went ahead and did this without the participation, breaking and breaching all the terms of the agreement of the pre-plebiscite and what was agreed on by with the United Nations to pull out this fake that they call a constitution of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. However, let's go ahead and see what happens. The component states of the federation was identified as La République du Cameroon to be called East Cameroon and the Southern Cameroon to be called West Cameroon. Strangely, the long title of the constitution characterized the document as a revision of the 1960 Cameroon Constitution of La République du Cameroon, necessitated by a need to facilitate the return of a part of the territory of Cameroon, Republic du Cameroon. Let me take that again. The component states of the federation were identified as La République du Cameroon to be called as East Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons to be called as West Cameroon. So strangely enough, the long title of the constitution characterized the document as a revision of the 1960, we were not there, 1960 Cameroon Constitution of Republic du Cameroon, necessitated by the need to facilitate the return of a part of the territory of La République du Cameroon. They say it was a part of the territory of La République du Cameroon. The document was thus in the nature of an annexation law, thinly disguised as a federal constitution. Annexation law. For Republic du Cameroon could not at one and the same breath be the one of two component states of the federation and yet absorb the other component state, the Southern Cameroons, nor can the legislature of the future component of a yet-to-be federation vividly act as a legislature of that merely contemplated federation. You see the confusion here that La République du Cameroon, it just came in and mixed up everything. So part of what the constitution showed that it was just part of La République du Cameroon that they are now bringing it back into La République du Cameroon. So they were just revised their 1960 constitution that they drew that we were not part of it. And now they pull us into becoming part of their country. And even in an assembly that none of our members were represented to pull out this fake, they call the constitution of the federal constitution. Let's see, in September 1961, the trusteeship regarding the Southern Cameroon had not yet been terminated, and La République du Cameroon has always been a foreign state in regard to Southern Cameroons. So Republic du Cameroon had no jurisdiction whatsoever over Southern Cameroons and could thus not validly exercise constituent powers over the territory. Neither the legislature nor the executive of La République du Cameroon could validly legislate for the contemplated federation because Southern Cameroonians were never involved. So La République du Cameroon's unilateral federal constitution was never submitted for endorsement to and was endorsed endorsed by the people or the parliament or the government of Southern Cameroons. Compris? Do you think the onslaught in Ambazonia now only started in the reign of his constitutional heir, Hobia. No, it didn't. So let us look at the Ebube and Santa slaughters. In the same month of September, that is a country that says we are not annexationists, we will never be annexationists, we cannot annex our brothers. Let us see what happened in that same month. In the same month of September 1961, a platoon of La République du Cameroon soldiers crossed the border into Southern Cameroons at Ebobo village near Tombe and massacred 13 CDC workers in cold blood. If you think that this is something that was provoked by Ayaba, or this is something that was done by desperate people in the diaspora, and then you are joking. All the leaders were in Southern Cameroons when they crossed over to Tombe and massacred all these workers in Tombe. 13 CDC workers were massacred in cold blood by the same bloodthirsty La République military that is massacring women and children in Ambazonia today, that have caused our young women to be widows, our children to be fatherless, and orphans, our mothers to be childrenless, and all of that. So they murdered these people in cold blood. No explanation or apologies was offered by La République du Cameroon to the government of Southern Cameroons, despite crossing over into its territory, violating the principle of territoriality, violating the principle of sovereignty, territorial borders. Further north, in the village of Santa near Bamenda, soldiers from La République du Cameroon crossed the Southern Cameroon's border into the village of Santa near Bamenda, killed a number of people, and destroyed property. So the arson attacks that we are having today, destruction of our communities, killing of our animals and everything, properties destruction, it didn't start in 2016 or 2018 or 2019. It started way back in 1961. So Ambazonians, I beg, open your eyes. They were eventually flushed out by the company of British soldiers. But once again, La République du Cameroon offered neither explanation nor apology for yet another armed violation of the territorial integrity of Southern Cameroons. To them, they own it. They don't owe anybody any explanation. The international community endorses its criminality in Ambazonia, its criminal actions, its atrocities. They endorse it, and they have normalized killing in Ambazonia. In 1962, Mr. Zakaria Abendong, MP in the Southern Cameroons Parliament, was brutally murdered in the vicinity of Kemkem in La République du Cameroon. In the same year, a Cameroonese gendarme murdered in cold blood 2 Southern Cameroonian youth arbitrarily detained by the very gendarmes in Southern Cameroon's town of Bota. There was never any inquiry into the circumstances of this murder, and the soldiers who carried out those extrajudicial killings were never brought to books, and they were never held accountable. The same thing that is happening today in Ambazonia. So if you think that this fight, or if you think that this killing is provoked by somebody, ask yourself what provoked it in 1961, when our fathers didn't even have the mind to even pull up, to stand in front of them and contest or protest. So this is the onset of the armed occupation of Ambazonia or Southern Cameroons. This is how it started. For your knowledge, this is how it started. So on the 25th of September 1961, British Queen issued a proclamation declaring that the British government shall, as from the first day of October 1961, cease to be responsible for the administration of Southern Cameroons. International conspiracy. The French call the Southern Cameroon as un petit cadeau from the Queen of England, and a little gift from the Queen of England. And even when the Queen of England saw the onslaught, the massacres, the killings conducted by La République du Cameroon in our territory, when they were even still administering powers in the territory, they conveniently declared that on the 1st of October, they ceased to be responsible for the administration of Southern Cameroon. The British government then began to withdraw its personnel from the territory, culminating in the departure of its troops on September 30, 1961. The territory was left defenseless because Southern Cameroon, remember, did not have a defense force of its own. French Cameroon had built its military because they were under French rule, but the British Southern Cameroons was under, it didn't have a defense force, it didn't have a police or an army. It was always under the British forces controlled by the British. So the territory was left defenseless as it had no military force of its own. La République du Cameroon moved in its military force without the concurrence of the government of Southern Cameroons. Those forces, they said, occupied the territory and have remained in occupation since then. A situation on October 1st, 1961, the British government and the United Nations washed their hands off Southern Cameroon, leaving the political status of the territory and the fate of its people in limbo. That is why we say Britain owes us a colonial debt. The British government declared that the Southern Cameroons and its inhabitants were expendable. Declassified secret files on the Southern Cameroon, PRO London. So this is where this information was gotten from. The attitude of the United Nations and is all the more surprising when it is recalled that the war body had drafted constitution for Ethiopia Eritrea Federation and also for what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo. But when it came to the case of Southern Cameroon, they washed their hands off. On the same day of a de facto Cameroon Federation came into existence, sovereignty over Southern Cameroon that had supposedly achieved independence on that day was never handed over to the government of Southern Cameroon, which would then have handed it to the legitimate federal government, but apparently to Mr. Ahidjo, the president of La République du Cameroon and the self-declared head of a yet-to-be form of federal government. He declared himself the president of that federal government. So, let us look, and I will close from here, and I will take it next time. The revealing provision of the de facto federal constitution. The federal constitution, unilaterally drafted and enacted by La République du Cameroon, contained some revealing provisions. So the president of the Republic du Cameroon gave himself absolute power under Article 50 to rule by decree during the first 6 months of the federation. Article 54 made provision for the composition of the federal parliamentarians in proportion to the number of inhabitants of each federated state in the ratio of 1 parliamentarian to 80,000 inhabitants. Thievery, cookery, listen to that. Article 54 made provision for the composition of the federal parliamentarians in proportion to the number of inhabitants of each federated state in the ratio of 1 parliamentarian to 80,000 inhabitants. Remember, La République du Cameroon has a larger landscape and population than Southern Cameroons. So Ahidjo knew exactly what he was doing. The constitution put the population of Southern Cameroons at 800,000 and that of La République du Cameroon at 3.2 million, thus hiding 10 parliamentarians from Southern Cameroon and 40 from La République du Cameroon in the Federal National Assembly. This inconsequential representation was designed to ensure that Southern Cameroon's influence neither legislation nor policy in the federation. So when we hear people say Cameroon is a monster, don't think that they just hate Cameroon. No. This has been in action for years and years. They had it all planned out to have Southern Cameroons annexed. So Article 56 enacted that on October 1st, 1961, the government of the Republic of Cameroon, the government of the Republic of Southern Cameroon and the government of the Republic of Cameroon shall become the government of the two federated states representatively. Article 59 stated that the French text of the Constitution was the authoritative version. These telling provisions were later expunged from the Constitution, but without in fact changing the factual situation created by them. So, conspicuously absent from the document were certain key matters the Southern Cameroons had insisted on during pre- and post-plebiscite talks with La République du Cameroon. Robust statement state autonomy. Robust state autonomy, a constitutional bill of right, a federal senate, and a judicial independence. However, there was no provision in the document to the effect that Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon shall be united in one sovereign republic. No provision to the effect that the federation was one and indivisible. No claim that the document represented consensus and ad edem of the Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. The political authorities of La République du Cameroon were and remain in the driver's seat of the de facto federation, aware that the federation lacked a legal, valid founding document and that it had a mere de facto existence. Those authorities never applied for United Nations membership of the federation, so the federation was never a member of the United Nations. I will leave it at this, and then we will talk about, and I'll come back more for this because we have a lot to bring out to the knowledge of our people. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this has helped you. So, in conclusion, the situation in Southern Cameroon, also known as Ambazonia, highlights the critical issues surrounding colonial legacies and the right to self-determination. Many view the struggle for independence as a mere separatist movement, but it is fundamentally about restoring the statehood that was promised and then unjustly denied. The action of the Republic of Cameroon is exerting control over the territory are not merely political maneuvers. They represent a serious violation of international law and international human rights principles. Historically, the legitimacy of the statehood is grounded in the principle of territoriality and the right to self-determination. The United Nations endorsement of the 1961 plebiscite and its subsequent resolutions underscore the commitment to uphold these principles. The failure to honor the federal structure promised to Southern Cameroon has led to the systemic disenfranchisement and court abdication, highlighting the urgent need for accountability. So under international law, any assertion of control over a territory without the consent of its people is considered illegal. And that is what Cameroon is doing in Ambazonia. The Republic of Cameroon's presence in Ambazonia, marked by the repression and disregard of the rights of the Ambazonian people, constitute an illegal occupation that contravene the established principles of a state creation and territorial integrity. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we reflect on this struggle, as we continue to battle for the lives of our people that are constantly smelled, constantly eradicated, maimed, killed, destroyed, brutalized, let us know that it is imperative for the international community to recognize the illegal nature of Cameroon's action and to support the legitimate aspiration of the people of Ambazonia. The quest for independence is not just a fight for territory. It is a fight for the restoration of dignity. It is the fight for the restoration of our rights and the recognition of the unique identity of our people. Upholding these principles is essential for fostering peace, justice, and the rule of law in the region, and as stated in the United Nations Charter. It is time to advocate for our resolution that respect the rights and aspiration of Ambazonian people and recognizes their rightful claim to self-determination. This is why we fight. Like I said, this is just the first part. I will come with more. We must have this right. You must understand it and you must take a stand. Thank you very much for taking time to listen to me. May God bless you and may God cause you to reflect on what has been shared here today. God bless you all. government consisting of a federal decided to join them via that plebiscite. It says they decided to achieve independence by joining the Independence or Cameroon Federation came into existence. Sovereignty over Southern Cameroon that had supposedly achieved independence on that day was never handed over to the government of Southern Cameroon, which would then have handed it to the legitimate federal government, but apparently to Mr. Ahidjo, the president of La République du Cameroon, and the self-declared head of a yet-to-be form of federal government. He declared himself the president of that federal government. So, let us look, and I will close from here, and I will take it next time. The revealing provision of the de facto federal constitution. The federal constitution, unilaterally drafted and enacted by La République du Cameroon, contained some revealing provisions. So the president of the Republic of Cameroon gave himself absolute power under Article 50 to rule by decree during the first 6 months of the federation. Article 54 made provision for the composition of the federal parliamentarians in proportion to the number of inhabitants of each federated state in the ratio of 1 parliamentarian to 80,000 inhabitants. Thievery, cookery, listen to that. Article 54 made provision for the composition of the federal parliamentarians in proportion to the number of inhabitants of each federated state in the ratio of 1 parliamentarian to 80,000 inhabitants. Remember, La République du Cameroon has a larger landscape and population than Southern Cameroons. So Ahidjo knew exactly what he was doing. The constitution put the population of Southern Cameroons at 800,000 and that of La République du Cameroon at 3.2 million, thus hiding 10 parliamentarians from Southern Cameroon and 40 from La République du Cameroon in the Federal National Assembly. This inconsequential representation was designed to ensure that Southern Cameroons influenced neither legislation nor policy in the federation. So when we hear people say Cameroon is a monster, don't think that they just hate Cameroon. No. This has been in action for years and years. They had it all planned up to have Southern Cameroons annexed. So Article 56 enacted that on October 1st, 1961, the government of the Republic of Cameroon, the government of the Republic of Southern Cameroon and the government of the Republic of Cameroon shall become the government of the two federated states representatively. Article 59 stated that the French text of the Constitution was the authoritative version. These telling provisions were later expunged from the Constitution, but without in fact changing the factual situation created by them. So, conspicuously absent from the document were certain key matters the Southern Cameroons had insisted on during pre- and post-plebiscite talks with La République du Cameroon. Robust statement state autonomy. Robust state autonomy, a constitutional bill of right, a federal senate, and a judicial independence. However, there was no provision in the document to the effect that Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon shall be united in one sovereign republic. No provision to the effect that the federation was one and indivisible. No claim that the document represented consensus and ad edem of the Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon. The political authorities of La République du Cameroon were and remain in the driver's seat of the de facto federation, aware that the federation lacked a legal, valid founding document and that it had a mere de facto existence. Those authorities never applied for United Nations membership of the federation So the Federation was never a member of the United Nations. I will leave it at this, and then we will talk about, and I'll come back more for this because we have a lot to bring out to the knowledge of our people. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this has helped you. So, in conclusion, the situation in Southern Cameroon, also known as Ambazonia, highlights the critical issues surrounding colonial legacies and the right to self-determination. Many view the struggle for independence as a mere separatist movement, but it is fundamentally about restoring the statehood that was promised and then unjustly denied. The action of the Republic of Cameroon is exerting control over the territory are not merely political maneuvers. They represent a serious violation of international law and international human rights principles. Historically, the legitimacy of the statehood is grounded in the principle of territoriality and the right to self-determination. The United Nations endorsement of the 1961 Plebiscite and its subsequent resolutions underscore the commitment to uphold these principles. The failure to honor the federal structure promised to Southern Cameroon has led to the systemic disenfranchisement and court abdication, highlighting the urgent need for accountability. So under international law, any assertion of control over a territory without the consent of its people is considered illegal. And that is what Cameroon is doing in Ambazonia. The Republic of Cameroon's presence in Ambazonia, marked by the repression and disregard of the rights of the Ambazonian people, constitute an illegal occupation that contravene the established principles of a state creation and territorial integrity. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we reflect on this struggle, as we continue to battle for the lives of our people that are constantly smelled, constantly eradicated, maimed, killed, destroyed, brutalized, let us know that it is imperative for the international community to recognize the illegal nature of Cameroon's action and to support the legitimate aspiration of the people of Ambazonia. The quest for independence is not just a fight for territory, it is a fight for the restoration of dignity. It is the fight for the restoration of our rights and the recognition of the unique identity of our people. Upholding these principles is essential for fostering peace, justice, and the rule of law in the region, and as stated in the United Nations Charter. It is time to advocate for our resolution that respect the rights and aspiration of Ambazonian people and recognizes their rightful claim to self-determination. This is why we fight. Like I said, this is just the first part. I will come with more. We must have this right. You must understand it and you must take a stand. Thank you very much for taking time to listen to me. May God bless you and may God cause you to reflect on what has been shared here today. God bless you all.